I see my man in the background, Esteban Carrillo. How you doing, Esteban? You doing okay this morning?
Hey, Jamal, good morning. I'm doing great. Hope you're doing well as well.
I, I am doing fine. Esteban Carrillo, he is Ecuadorian journalist, currently writing for The Cradle, previously with the great Telesur English. And again, The Cradle does fantastic work. You guys
Thank you
do
so much.
amazing work. I saw the article that you guys did on, what is that asshole's name? Tom.
Barack, visit?
Yes. Yes. That asshole. I mean, he is
Yes.
the one that's been trying to instigate a civil war in Lebanon.
Yes.
And you guys wrote the article where he came out, was like, look, this is my last time in Lebanon. I'm trying to
Yeah.
help you out.
Yeah. He gave the ultimatum. This is like the second or third ultimatum he's given to Lebanon, but he is a bastard.
I know, but the idea that you're saying, like, I'm trying to help you have a civil war.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help. And you guys aren't, so
They're
this is going to be
budging.
my last time coming here. That's just astonishing. Like, that he says stupid stuff like that. And then he gets angry when they're asking him questions. He was like, you guys need to act not, less like animals.
Yeah, we cannot be animalistic, to journalists. I mean, it's truly, truly a repulsive figure, this man. Best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, a few years ago.
I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked by that. Not shocked by the company that he keeps. Not at all. Before I want you on to hit Venezuela, but before I hit the Venezuelan thing,
Yes, of
I
course.
do want to hit Gaza real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So Israel has just murdered 90 people, apparently.
Yeah.
Donald Trump apparently co-signs the murder of those 90 people, saying, hey, man, Israel has to strike back. And then says, but it's not going to affect the ceasefire, which is astonishing to me, right? It doesn't sound like a ceasefire if you can murder 90 people overnight. And they are claiming that apparently, and there's no corroborating evidence for this at all, by the way, that Hamas murdered an Israeli soldier. What do you know about this? Because I haven't seen any corroborating evidence for this at all.
I mean, we know what the Israelis claim and what the Palestinians have said, which is the Israelis claim a sniper fire killed some Israeli soldier in the south in Rafah, which it's under Israeli control, and not just Israeli control, it's under the control of the Israeli troops and of the gang of Yasser Abu Shabab, this ISIS-linked smuggler. He had an op-ed at the Wall Street Journal just a couple of months ago, but they are in control of this area, so it's kind of strange, right? And the last time they broke the ceasefire, although the ceasefire has been violated on a near daily basis if you count the lack of food entering the strip, or the fact that there's no medicine still inside Gaza. These are also violations. It's not just about killing Palestinians, of which they killed, from the last count I saw 104 Palestinians killed over strikes that lasted for about 12 hours. So at the last time when they violated the ceasefire, like bombing Gaza in this way a few days ago, they also claimed that sniper fire, had hit some of their soldiers in the south. And what the Qassam brigades, their explanation for even the possibility of this happening was, well, if this happened, which we don't know if it did, there's no verification, is we have some of our brigades in the south. We lost contact with them months ago due to the the intensity of the Israeli genocide. So now, if they are getting shot, they're not even getting the orders from whatever central command Qassam has. But as we know, as you already pointed out, there's really no verification of this. It's just the Israeli claim, and apparently it's because, in reality, it seems that it's based on the fact that Qassam fighters are not finding the bodies of Israeli captives quickly enough. In the site of a genocide where over 200,000 tons of explosives were dropped. So what can you do?
Yeah, which is mind-blowing, that their response to, hey, we need you to give us the dead body, we need it now, or else we're going to murder a lot of your people.
Yeah,
that's outrageous.
And the U.S. is supposed to be the guarantor. Just last week there were like 4 or 5 U.S. officials just coming and going from Israel, trying to handhold the ceasefire. And now when they want to come in and kill about 100 and something Palestinians, they completely get the approval from Washington and Donald Trump saying this is not a violation of the ceasefire. We really live in absurd times, Jamar.
Yeah, it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. One last point on this, the partition plan. So from my understanding, and this is mind-blowing also, Israel wants to get billions of dollars of support in order to build up areas to the areas to which they're occupying. Meaning, and I don't mean occupying in the traditional way that they've been occupying Gaza. I mean in the physical military occupation of the territory, where they have been even expanding that yellow line, or whatever the hell they call it, a yellow zone, where the Israeli military has just been squatting because it becomes clear that they're going to stay. They're not going anywhere, right? And so they've decided, well, we're going to get billions of dollars from some source, probably either Qatar, or Saudis, or UAE, wherever the money is going to come from. And we're going to build up this area. Screw the Palestinian area. That is amazing. Like, we need to dispense with this idea that this is a quote unquote ceasefire.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's just a switch, a different method, a different methodology for the same outcome, which is mass killings, mass displacement. Just last night they proved it, right? They can come in at any time, killed over 100 Palestinians, and then everybody will just shrug their shoulders and be like, "Well, that happened." As far as the yellow line, Israel at this point controls, I think it's about 58% of the Gaza Strip. And it's interesting because you must have seen the Jared Kushner interview in 60 Minutes with Steve Witkoff.
Yes, the plan.
In which they talked about Kushner. Well, Witkoff, first of all, let the cat out of the bag, right? When he said, we've been working on this master plan for about 2 years, to the dismay of Kushner. And then Kushner says something. Exactly. And then Kushner says something, which is, he said, there's a safe Gaza and then there's an unsafe Gaza. I'm paraphrasing, but this is the sentiment he expressed. And that's it. It's it right there, right? They are trying to portray the areas under Israeli control as the areas where development and reconstruction and aid and security, is going to be guaranteed. And then the areas in which the Palestinian resistance remains in control as, chaotic, anarchic, bombs keep dropping, they violate the ceasefire, etc. So, the civilization versus the animals, the same narrative that has been established from the very beginning of this genocide. And now you also have, the conditioning of the aid. You're going to see the conditioning of the aid, which is going to come. The funds, the reconstruction funds, which are going to come from the Gulf. They are going to come from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, and they are already conditioning Hamas disarmament before being, actually coming in to do any actual reconstruction in the areas that are still actually under Palestinian control. And at the same time, as part of this, master plan, as Steve Witkoff called it, you have Israel and the UAE funding 4 Palestinian militias in the yellow zone, in the yellow line. One of them, Abu Shabab, another one, linked to Fatah, to the Palestinian Authority, and all of them contrarian to Hamas, collaborating with the Israeli occupation. So it's just building this, manufacturing consent for the continued ethnic cleansing and for, what were they talking about? The re-education, the de-radicalization of the Palestinian population. Just this, like I said, not an actual ceasefire, not peace. Just let's switch gears. Let's change it up. Let's do something different that at least allows us to keep some of these news out of the headlines. Because the headlines now are shifting, right? They're shifting to Venezuela. They're shifting to Sudan as well, which I found to be a bit surprising, but they're shifting.
Yeah, it's that, right? It's like, hey, let's take a ceasefire. Let's rest our soldiers. Let's rearm. Let's get the world to calm down, because the world was being very pissed off at us. And you can imagine, like, Europeans and everything else is okay. They can turn their eyes away now because there's a ceasefire, and so this issue is settled. And now that this issue is settled, we can now go about murdering Palestinians again. So, like, on an average day within the context of the war, they were killing 90 Palestinians, 100 Palestinians.
On
they
average,
just did that yesterday, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, and they're doing it into this context of ceasefire. It's like the Lebanon model in the way that they were talking about it once before.
In Lebanon, they killed over 400 people since the ceasefire was implemented. So what ceasefire?
Yeah, what ceasefire? I keep asking, what ceasefire? The idea this was ceasefire is nonsense. So yeah, it's just mind-blowing. Do you think that money is really going to come in?
Conditioned, yes, completely conditioned, controlled. This is not going to be, Palestinians being allowed to reconstruct themselves. This is all going to be conditioned on the disarmament, on the de-radicalization. I think we're going to start seeing some reconstruction in the yellow line for sure. because they need to portray this, right? They need to advance the narrative that there's a safe Gaza and an unsafe Gaza. I think at the same time, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look, because you're talking about millions of tons of rubble that the UN has said is going to take about 15 years to clear. That is obviously going to release toxic gases, that you have an unimaginable amount of unexploded ordnances underneath the rubble. There's also the bodies hiding beneath the rubble that once they start coming out, how are you going to pretend that they're not there? How are you going to hide that just a rising number of casualties from the genocide? Because at this point, the health ministry still says about 68,000. But every scientific study over the past 2 years have said that's undercounting it by at least 40%. And then, you have to consider non-violent deaths as well. I really do not know how it's going to look, but I think that the funds will start to come in at least in certain areas, and because you're gonna need to put some pictures up, right? You need to put up some pictures of like, hey, we built a new house, we built a new hospital, we built something. Like there's something being developed here to justify continuing to talk about a ceasefire and the idea that there can be a safe Gaza. But I feel like this is not immediate too, because this would all be part of the phase 2 of the ceasefire, and we're still in phase 1.
Yes. Yeah. Just amazing. Just breathtakingly.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a debate on the show the other day that was maddening to listen to, because it felt like one of the people was trying to whitewash genocide or try to equate these two things as equals, like Hamas and this terrorists on the Israeli side. It is maddening to listen to when people do that. And it's like, when you deal with the real physical world reality of what's taking place, it's like, dude, they just murdered 100 and some people yesterday. How do you justify that? Well, you can't justify that. How do you justify what's taking place in the West Bank? Well, you can't justify that, right? Hamas is not in the West Bank. But that's besides the point, I suppose. So they tried to kidnap Maduro. And they tried to bring his pilot in on this. Basically, hey man, we'll give you a ton of money. We need you to take Maduro to a location where we can effectively steal him away and imprison him in some particular place. That is amazing to me. And of course, there's also the military hardware that is being built up. Aircraft carriers that have been brought to the region. So the Gerald Ford is now in the region. Apparently, there's another ship in the region that has been assisting in the murdering of Venezuelans, Colombians, etc. Given what is going on with this, I mean, the reporting that came out pointed out that they know that there's no fentanyl in Venezuela.
Yeah.
They know it, that this is about oil and getting their hands on the oil resources, with Marco Rubio effectively running the show on this. Mm-hmm. How is Latin America going to deal with this? Because Latin America has to know that they're lying.
You would imagine, you would hope so, but I don't think it's such a prevalent, perception that this is a lie. I mean, it's obvious, it's apparent. Really? All of the UN reports say. Unfortunately, Jamal, look at what happened in Argentina this weekend. The Argentinians are suffering. They're like eating their shoes for dinner. They are suffering as much as any other country in an economic crisis has suffered, and yet they go and vote for this lunatic.
Right. I did not understand that election, by the way.
They vote for this.
I saw that madman running through the streets, and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
So I think, this goes to show you that while many things may be apparent to us looking in from the outside, because I am at this point also outside of Latin America, looking from the inside in, sometimes, the power of the media, the power of these narratives that have been perpetuated right now, in particular, leftist forces in Latin America, I feel like they have lost, except for one in particular, and that is Mexico, the Mexican president and the Morena party. I feel like everywhere else except Mexico and maybe Honduras, they have kind of lost their grip in talking to the people, and like in establishing their own narratives, as opposed to the hegemonic narrative, which is Nicolas Maduro is a dictator, a narco dictator now, a narco terrorist dictator now, according to Donald Trump, and he deserves to be, like Venezuela needs to come in with bombs. The U.S. needs to come in with bombs and liberate Venezuela, because the lessons from Iraq, from Syria, from Libya, from Afghanistan, they have all been lost to the larger population, or to a very big chunk of the population. I don't want to generalize here, but I feel like this idea that the US is the savior and they will come, like the Avengers are coming in to save us, it still exists in a large measure. So, this display, this saber rattling that Donald Trump is doing by like deploying so many thousands of troops and aircraft carriers, just militarizing the Caribbean, it's for his own audience, right? It's for MAGA, like the killing of these fishermen. It's meant to show like, oh, I have I'm tough on crime, I'm tough on drug dealing, even though, as you just said, there's absolutely no evidence that Venezuela produces fentanyl. There's plenty of evidence that shows that most of the cocaine that flows into the US comes out of Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru and enters through the southwest of the US, through the Pacific or through Mexico itself. And then you actually have evidence that Venezuela has reduced cocaine production in their country, but facts don't matter. What matters is the narrative, is saying Nicolás Maduro is a brutal dictator, and we're gonna, replace him with the Nobel Prize Peace winner now, this woman who is like, trumpeting the invasion of her own country. So we live like in an upside down reality at this point, and I unfortunately feel like many people in Latin America do not really see the immensity of the danger that it means for the US to come in and start bombing one of our countries, or just what they're doing now. The killing of fishermen is over 40 people killed. Maybe some of them were drug traffickers. We will never know. We will never know if there were actual drugs in those boats. What we do know is that these boats couldn't, even think of reaching US shores.
Yes.
And the survivors, those who have survived, up to this point, I think there's 3 survivors. 2 of them were already sent back to their own countries. And when they arrived, they were sent to Ecuador and Colombia. They weren't prosecuted because there was no evidence that they had done anything wrong, that they were drug traffickers. And in Trinidad and Tobago, which has also lost some of their own fishermen, their families have also said, or they weren't drug traffickers. There were no drugs in these boats. So again, it's about the narrative. The facts, they can just go out the window for all it matters.
I just can't believe that they look at Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and they think to themselves, well, I mean, Iraq didn't have weapons of mass destruction, but hey, maybe Maduro is a narco president. Like that's astonishing to me that that's what they come up with. And
it's so lazy, no?
What'd you say? You call it lazy?
I said it's so lazy. It's like it's not even imaginative anymore. It's just kind of like repeating the same thing over and over.
Very true. And you mentioned Maria Machado. Mm-hmm. So she comes out and is given an interview.
Wants Maduro to go.
Listen to what she says. This is amazing to me because, again, this is this nonsense, right? Like they would see us as liberators in the way that they were talking about Iraq when the war was taking place.
Exactly.
I've heard recently some people talking about that, once Maduro goes out, because it will leave soon, there's this risk of civil war or unrest. Give me a break. We're talking about a country where 90% of the population, we all want the same.
She is arguing that 90% of Venezuela wants Maduro to go. That is mind-blowing.
I mean, 90%. If this were true, you would see people on the street right now. You'd see people in Caracas right now, but she wants you to think that this is, that people are just being rounded up by the thousands, by the tens of thousands and disappeared in this government, when the reality is, of course, Venezuelans don't want an invasion of their country. Who would, in the right mind, would want a U.S. invasion of their country, after everything we have seen? You have to hate your own nation. You have to hate your own people, and you have to have such a thirst of power. Every time I see these women talk, all that's left for her is to drool. She's thirsting for power so much. It's in her eyes, it's in her posture, it's just the way she uses words. This woman is desperate for this to work out, right? The Venezuelan opposition has been a master at showing their ass over the past 2 decades. That's why the people don't like them. Nicolás Maduro could be the worst leader in the world, but Venezuelans agree the opposition would be worse.
Yeah. I mean, she wins, ironically, a Nobel Peace Prize as she's advocating for her country to be bombed. Ain't that something? That's just mind-blowing. I mean, not only does it make, I mean, Nobel Peace Prize needs to just go the way of the dinosaurs at this point.
Yeah,
But
completely.
she is, I mean, deranged. Like 90% of nobody agrees on anything, right? Like the idea that 90% of Venezuelans are like, yeah, we all want the exact same thing.
I mean,
And
they might
yet-
want political change, but bombs are never going to bring political change. Look at Gaza. Look at Gaza. Look what did Israel achieve politically or strategically by bombing, by destroying Gaza. Hamas still there. They reconstituted their forces almost overnight, right after the ceasefire started, right? Venezuela, it's obviously no match for the U.S. militarily, but let's remember, one of these ships, the USS Gerald Ford, that is coming to the Caribbean, has just spent the past year and a half dodging Yemeni missiles and Iranian drones in the Red Sea, to the point that they literally had to wave the white flag and say, you know what, we cannot fight this battle anymore. Now, Venezuela, it's a country that has Russian air defenses, that has, they have an air force. They have fighter jets. They are no match, of course, to the F-35, to the F whatever, but they're not in there. They can defend themselves. They have like 8 million people that have joined the Bolivarian militias. So I don't know what the hell she's talking about with these 90% of Venezuelans want regime change by war.
Esteban, she's out of her mind, and I'm going to let you go. You are
Thank
awesome.
you very much.
Thank you for this. I really do appreciate it. Esteban Carrillo, Ecuadorian journalist, currently writing for The Cradle, previously with Tell Us Sir English. You have a good show, man. Thank you for this.
You as well. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.